Put another way, the goal of your website should be to make a positive impression on someone and position you as an expert at what you do.
This is the Art of Lawyering Podcast, a show all about making more money, being a badass attorney, and loving your life. The Art of Lawyering is all about becoming the best you possible. Whether you are a law firm owner, an associate attorney, or somewhere in between, this podcast is built to help you get the most out of life.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Art of Lawyering podcast. As always, I'm your host, Christopher Small, and I've got a little treat for you today. I'm excited about this. This is going to be a snippet of a long conversation I had with Marc Cerniglia, who is the owner of One Marketing. They do social media marketing, website development, things like that for lawyers, and they're super good. We sat down and we talked social media for a couple hours, and we broke it down into several different topics and just gave our thoughts. We kind of rolled through several different questions for each topic, and it was really a lot of fun, and there's a lot of really fantastic information in there. What I did today was I pulled one of the segments out. This one's about websites, and you're going to see there's tons of great stuff in there, tons of great insight and information, strategies, tactics to use to create a website that actually gets you clients that the internet loves, and that makes you money, and that doesn't cost you a fortune. So I want you to listen to that. It's going to be great. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to get the rest of those recordings. And to do that, all you have to do is go to theartoflawyering.com/003. When you get there, you'll see a little button that you can push that says, I want them all. And I want them all is your way of basically saying you want all the recordings. All you're going to have to do is enter your email address, hit the button. It's also going to get you on my weekly email address, which is going to be full of a bunch of cool, free, extra stuff. And you'll get all these other recordings, so you'll get those unlocked. So I want to encourage you to do that. Listen to this first, you'll see if you like it. I'm sure you will. Then go to theartoflawyering.com/003 to get the rest of the goodies. The other thing I want to remind you about, and I just have to do this because this podcast is new. You know, I gotta scratch and claw for every review and subscription I can get. But I'm doing the weekly book giveaway, all right? And to be entered into that, all you have to do is go and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and leave me a review, and then go to theartoflawyering.com/giveaway. Enter your email address in there. Let me know that you've done that, and that'll get you signed up. I'm going to give away a different book every week, and you can win one book at least every 6 months. So it's a pretty easy way to win a couple free books. You know, at the beginning here, there's probably not going to be very many people on the list. You'll be able to see as you get to iTunes how many are there. So you'll see what kind of chances you have to win. And I really look forward to giving those books away. They're going to be the books that have had the biggest impact on my career, my law firm, my practice, and I'm interested in giving those to you, sharing them with you, and can't wait to do that. So let's just cut the chit chat and let's get on to the show.
Hello everyone. I am Christopher Small. I'm here with Marc Cerniglia, and we're doing our kind of pull back the curtain expert conversation / first take on website, on social media, on basically anything under the sun that's related to internet marketing or using the internet for your business or for your law firm. What we're going to do here is it's going to be like a first take format, like I said. So we're going to announce sort of a topic. We got a few, 4, 5, 6, I think, that we're going to talk about. Then we have a bunch of questions within that, and we're just going to hit the question. We're each going to give our take. If we agree or disagree with each other, then we'll sort of talk about why we think one way that we do. And, you know, the goal here is really to give you a behind-the-scenes look, sort of an expert's eye at internet marketing, social media marketing, and really give you a way to get more out of your law firm easier. All right. So, hello, Marc, by the way.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yeah. So he is here, even though you haven't heard his voice yet. That's him. And so we're just going to dive right in. And if you recall, I did an interview with Marc probably, well, depends on when you listen to this, on when I did it. We did the interview with him. But we talked a lot about sort of the same stuff. And really the idea here is to sort of dive deeper on these topics to really sort of, again, borrow more of his expertise and get you more clients, man. That's what it's all about. So, Marc, I don't know if you have anything to add, or we can just dive right in.
Yeah, no, just in case there's any first-time listeners, my name is Marc Cerniglia. My company is One Marketing. We provide internet marketing for law firms. Doing it for a while, have a lot of attorney clients, so that's kind of my background and the knowledge that hopefully I bring to the table for this show.
That's right, and you're right. I guess I don't know if you ever if you use this and nobody knows who I am. My name is Christopher Small. I'm the owner of Emerald City Law Group. It's a law firm out in Seattle. I also have a business called Law Firm Marketing Mastery that is sort of related to this same stuff. I talk a lot about my experiences with starting and building a law firm, just to try to help all of you other lawyers out there. Okay, so without further ado, let's tackle topic number one. All right, topic number one is websites. So, we got a bunch of questions here. And I'm gonna kind of be the moderator, so I'm gonna kick the question off, let Marc give his 2 cents, and then I'm gonna give my 2 cents, and then boom, we'll go from there. So, question number one is, what is the goal? What should the number one goal of someone's website be? So, as you are creating your website, what is the main driver? What is the main thing that you should be thinking about? Oh, and I'm trying to kill time here. We got some microphone issues. Potentially, and we're good. Okay, so what is the goal of your website?
Well, honestly, this question is pretty simple. The goal of your website needs to be to help people get an idea of what you do so that they can make a better informed decision about whether or not you are the person they need, or perhaps if you are the right referral for someone that they know. It's very simple, because it doesn't matter where somebody's coming from. It might be someone that found you through the internet, but people coming to your website are also people that you network with, people that refer to you. So your website, first and foremost, needs to do a good job of communicating who you are and what you do. Put another way, the goal of your website should be to make a positive impression on someone and position you as an expert at what you do.
Okay, that was really good. I like that. I think in some cases it depends. For me, and I guess it depends on what you do too, but for me, the number one goal of my website is, it piggybacks with yours too, but really my number one goal is to get people to take the next step for me. That means make a phone call, or opt into something I'm giving away or doing something. But and the only way they're going to do that, that's kind of a step two, because the only way they're going to do that is if you've accomplished the goals that you just said, really. I mean, if your website looks like crap and you don't present sort of the image of what they expected to see or back up what they know about you, then you're not going to get them to do that. But, one of the common mistakes that I see, well, we're going to talk about common mistakes, so I'm not going to go there yet, but that's the number one goal for me, get them to take the next step. Reach out to me or whatever that is.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only addition I would add, I really agree with what you said. I think the reason I don't start with that thought, Chris, is because at the end of the day, the truth is that you're never, well, I shouldn't say never, but you're doing something amazing. If the majority of the people that come to your website do opt into something, just in terms of raw numbers, it's going to be hard to ever get a majority to do that. Now, I agree that really should be the goal, to get as many people as possible to do that. But only thing I would add, and this doesn't contradict what you said, is that even if they don't opt in for something, at the end of the day, it's still a success if your website made an impression on them that is lasting. Because then if they remember you, they might come back later, refer you later. That's obviously not trackable, but at the end of the day, for 100% of your visitors, you can make a great impression.
Right.
As for only X% can you maybe get to opt into something. So I think it's good to have both those goals, maybe.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. All right, question 2. What are the ingredients of an effective legal website? So what are the things that you think must be there if you have a website that's performing the way that you want? You want me to go first on this one?
Yeah, man, take it away.
All right. This is what I wrote. These are my thoughts. A strong headline that speaks to potential clients' needs and really tells people immediately who you are and what you do. And I'm not talking necessarily about saying like Seattle DUI lawyer or something like that, but you need to let them know what you do. And if you can somehow encompass what separates you from the pack, that's also great. You want to have that up at the top. Number 2, strong call to action, right? You want to have your phone number there so that they can call you. I mean, I think, well, I haven't done any studies on this, but just looking at my website stats, there are some people that will go and look at everything, every page on my site. But what most people do is they sort of decide right away whether or not you should be whether or not you're good enough for them, and you want to make sure that you have a way for them to get in touch with you immediately. And that's sort of where that goal goes for my number one goal is getting them to take the next step. The last thing I say is I say a picture of yourself or video is better, right? But you want to have something that sort of personalizes you and your firm immediately and shows people that you're a person, right? Because you're really trying to it's that know, like, trust for them to call you back. So those are the 3 things that I put. You probably want to have some copy on there. You want to talk to them about what you do and things like that. But I think those 3 things are critical and a good place to start, at least. Mark.
Yeah, so I think I couldn't agree more. I think, so I would just say to the listeners right now, if you're not driving, if you're actually sitting in the desk in a place you can write, I would recommend, if you haven't already, grab a pencil and write this down. You should have already wrote down what Chris said. But I'm going to go ahead and share literally what our internal list is for this. Okay, so giving away my secret here from an internet marketing company of this is our magic sauce. Even though I'll be honest with you, it's not really magic. It's actually pretty straightforward. But these are the things that we want to have on every website we do for a client. Number 1 is high quality design. You don't need to have the most beautiful website ever. You're not trying to win a design contest, but your website needs to look modern, professional, not like you had your nephew do it for you 10 years ago as a favor. Right. Okay? You need to have a high quality professional design. Typically, that's actually going to, that's what a professional website designer is going to cost. Number 2 is content. This is the call to action, which Chris, you already pointed out. But this is also just clearly articulating what you do. You don't need loads and loads of great content. What you need is content to clearly articulate what you do. This is done through headlines. This is done through what's in the paragraphs. But just make it easy to understand what you, okay? Next, number 3, include video. I do believe very strongly in video. Have video on your website. Number 4, include some sort of free giveaway. A free resource, a download, a report, something where you're going to give away information. Then include a blog where you provide information about, not information, but advice, input, insight about your area of law to the consumers. If you're a family law attorney, blog about tips for adoption or tips to plan for divorce, okay? Then have a news section. This is different than blog. News should be all about things that are happening in your community or in your firm. You win a big case, you sponsor a charity, you appear on the radio. That's different from blogging, but have a section of your website. It's kind of a PR section, okay? So basically, when you do these things, I know that kind of sounds like a long list. It was only 6 or 7 things. But when you do these 6 or 7 things well and go on a website, you're going to have people walk away from your website thinking what the original goal was, which is, it's clear to me what this attorney does, and it's clear to me that they're experts at what they do, and it's clear to me that they're the person I need to hire. So it's kind of a long list in some ways, but those are really our ingredients for success.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of a long list, but, you just got to ask yourself the question, do you want to be successful or not? If the answer is yes, then complete the list, right? If the answer is no, then don't complete the list. right?
And you can build towards that too. I mean, I just want
Right.
to say for the listeners, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. I'm not saying you have
Right.
to do all this out of the gate, but those are the ingredients,
Yeah.
of a fantastic website. You leave an ingredient or two out, it's still going to taste good, right? But,
Right.
it's going to taste better once you add those other things.
For sure. All right, I got nothing more to add. That was great. I like it. More secrets. That's what I want. All right, question number 3. Okay, so how do you define getting business from your website? And since I went first on the last one, why don't you go first on this one?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite questions is a lot of attorneys say to me, Mark, I don't really currently get a lot of business from my website, blah, blah, blah. And the first thing I do is stop them and say, what do you mean by that? So let's just all get on the same page right now about why that question is really a misguided question, okay? Your website doesn't get you business. Your website doesn't actually do anything to go reach out and bring someone in. Rather, other types of marketing bring people to your website. It kind of be like saying, I printed these brochures, and the question is, how much business do I get from the brochure? Well, it matters how many people you handed the brochure to, right? So really the question is, how much business do I get from this networking that I do? And when I go out and network, do I invite people to check out my website? Because then your website is assisting you in getting business from the networking you're doing. Or if you're running some sort of internet campaign through social media or ads or whatever you're doing, those things ultimately should drive people to your website. So the question is, well, is my website helping me get better results out of this campaign? So ironically, the answer to the question is that it's really not the right question, because your website by itself doesn't get you business. What your website does is enhances the efforts of the other thing you should be doing to get business. Now, that being said, since your website is in a lot of ways the end place that someone ends up, okay, you do have to ask yourself, are people doing what I want them to do when they get to my website? Are they calling me? Are they opting in for a newsletter? Are they doing something to provide information? Are they at least reading my blogs or watching my videos on my website? Those are really the better questions to ask, is what is somebody doing when they get to my website? Are they doing what I want them to do? But your website itself doesn't create business for you.
Yeah, and that's the way that I answered the question, was what in my mind was, for me, my website gets business for me if it's performing in the way that it's supposed to perform, which for me is lead generation. And it's at the end of the funnel, like you explained. I mean, most people, zero people are typing emeraldcitylawgroup.com into their browser when they have a problem. No one is finding me that way unless something else has happened beforehand. But if people are getting to your website and then they're not taking the next step, that's a problem. That is not. Then your website is I guess not getting business for you, right? Because it's stopping the process, which can be a big problem. But if your website has the ingredients and those things that we were talking about beforehand, that's what makes a website work for you or work for your business. And you're right. I mean, once people get to your website, if you have it set up right, you should be getting a steady stream of leads from your website. You're not going to get everybody, and that's okay, because even for me, within we do DUI defense, for example, not every person that's charged with a DUI is my ideal client. So my website's not designed, or I'm not trying to appeal to every single person that's got, been charged with or arrested for a DUI. I have a very specific subset of people, and my website hopefully is designed to sort of appeal to those people and get them to call me. But if you aren't getting calls from your website, or if you aren't getting opt-ins, or if you aren't getting traffic, people raising their hand and saying, hey, I want more information, or I want to talk to you more, then that's not good. Then your website is definitely not getting you business. But that's kind of how I answered it. And the other thing I said too was that it's important, and I think attorneys in particular have this problem, is that your website is not necessarily a vanity plate, to show other attorneys how cool you are. At the end of the day, unless other attorneys are your potential clients or your potential referral sources in a very, very large way. But for me, I don't care what any other DUI lawyer, for example, thinks about my website. I don't care. What I care about is someone that's charged with DUI, do they care what my website is like? Do they care what my website looks like and what it says? Does it appeal to them? That's what I care about. Everybody else that it's not meant for doesn't matter to me. And that's a problem that we sometimes get, because you start to think, oh, what is, Joe lawyer over here, what is he going to think? He's going to think it's cheesy, or he's going to think whatever. He's going to download my PDF 10 ways to beat a DUI, and he's going to think it's written like a 7th grader or something. And it actually probably is, right? Because you're not talking to other lawyers. You're talking to people that don't know what they're doing. And so you do have to sort of break it down in a non-lawyer way when you write these things. So that's what it means to me to get business from my website. Those are the things that I look at to see if my website is performing for me. And I think your website should definitely be a tool in your toolbox that does work for you. Although, just like you said, Mark, it is at the end of the funnel. So it's not really a lead. It's not really it's sort of just in the process. I mean, no one's going to find your website.
It's like this, Chris, and I want to just add on, because I think this might be one of the most valuable mindsets that we can instill in the listeners today, is that I handle, as someone who provides marketing services, I just handle this statement a lot from lawyers that I'm not really getting much business from my website. And for me, the question is always, well, what are you doing to get business from your website? And so it is just important to identify it's the end of the funnel, and that funnel can start in a variety of places. That funnel can even start outside of the internet, with you networking, doing speaking events, things like that. And it's just so important that when we ask this question, how can my website get me business, that we do recognize that the website can only do so much if you're not doing anything else to get people to your website. And it sounds simple, like it's kind of like, why are we even having to say this on the show, But to be honest with you, I think there is a subconscious feeling out there that if I get my website up, they should start doing these things for me.
Right. If I build it, they will come.
True. It's just not.
Right. Okay. All right. So there's actually, this question is on the other topics that we're going to ask, but it's not here. But I want to talk about it, and that sort of goes to ROI or goes to how can you tell if your website is working for you? What are if someone asks you that, what are the ways that you can look to tell if your website is working for you? All right, I'm going first. I got a couple of things. First, you have analytics, okay? The reason that analytics are important are because you want to see if people are getting to your website, first of all, and you want to see how long they're staying there and what they're doing. If you have people staying there for like 10 seconds, that's not good, okay? They don't have to stay for a really long time, but if they're just bouncing out really, really fast, that's not good. And then with analytics, you can also see if people are getting there, because it's like you said, people think if you build it, they will come. Well, if you build it, but you don't drive any traffic to your website, no one's going to see it and no one's going to take any action on it. So you need to know where the problem is if you don't think your website is performing for you. The second thing that I would do, and I'm going to do this soon, I actually don't have it on mine, is using a call tracking service where you can put a separate phone number on your website that leads back to your main number, so that anytime someone calls you, you know that it came from your website, and you can track that very, very closely. Because what happens to us at least is when you ask, hey, how'd you find us? People say like the internet or something, And if you ever do any other sort of online advertising, like if you do Google ads, or even if you have a Facebook page or something like that, you want to make sure that you want to know how people got to you, where they ended up. And if they ended up on your website, at least you know that they went there and then they took the next step. So you can know that what you want people to do is happening. The other thing is with the opt-ins, right? If you do a PDF opt-in, or if you do a giveaway or something like that, then you'll know that it's working because people will be opting in. You'll see that. You'll know that when it comes through, because you just will. We'll talk about that later. But those are some of the ways you can at least have an idea of whether or not your website is performing the way that you want. And if you measure that stuff, as you add these ingredients that Mark talked about earlier, hopefully you'll see those numbers continue to rise, because you'll continue to get a higher number of people that are acting on it, because you may only have let's say 10% of people that go to your site actually take action. That may be a good number, but if you can get it to 12% or 15%, that could be a game changer for your business. And so I did want to talk about that because I think we didn't talk about it here, and we're going to talk about it other places, so I thought it was important. So, thoughts?
Well, here's the thing. So I actually agree with everything that you said, Chris, and I think if I went first, I probably would share some of the same things. So here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to kind of talk about the other side of the coin of this question. And your question, and this is again, and I agree, your answer, though, is kind of what I would define as the standard answer when we think about internet marketing in traditional ways. And this is something that I often have to encourage my clients to see both sides of the coin. So what I mean by this is when we look at internet marketing from a lead generation standpoint, then statistics, and tracking and statistics are exactly what we want to look at. I fully agree. The other side of the coin is that your website also is a tool, and we've kind of already hinted at this, that serves you in more ways than just lead generation from marketing campaigns you might be doing. Okay, your website is also something that friends, colleagues, prospects, referral sources, and etc. are also going to go to. Okay, and at that point, if they call you and they call the number on your website, the call is coming from your website, but that call from your website is a whole lot different when it's a referral source calling you or a referral calling you than it is if it was somebody that found you through Google or some sort of campaign you're doing.
Right.
So where I'm going, and there's really more than just that. I mean, for example, one of the ways that we talk about assessing the ROI of your website is honestly, how are your sales conversations going? Are you finding it easier to close when people call you or come into your office? Are you finding it easier to charge the rates that you want to? Those aren't as quantifiable, Are you converting a higher percentage of referrals? Why might that be happening? Because your website is kind of helping you seal the deal. So all I'm saying is there are two sides of the coin and both are correct. One is the very much, is my website generating leads? Where are they coming from? What is the statistics and data? But some of it is also kind of this more fluid, how is my website helping me in the relationship building that I'm doing?
Right.
How is my website helping me in positioning me as an expert? Is it helping sell me? Is it helping me charge my rates? Is it helping me close more effectively and things like that? So it's really just a second side of the coin that it's just really important that both are paid attention to.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think if you don't, right, I agree. I mean, I think if you don't have those elements, then you won't be getting the calls anyway either, And I mean, but if you're just I guess my answer was just really about, if you're really just wondering, is your website working for you? Is it making you any money or anything like that? That's one way that here's the thing too, right? It's exactly what you said. It does go to the other side of the coin, because I guess what I would say is, if you look at some of these numbers and you're not satisfied with where they are, then you need to take a step back and look at all the things that you just talked about, because I mean, you're not going to be able to raise it to 100% ever or anything like that. But if you're at okay, I'm going to give you a secret, guys. If you're at 1% for some of these numbers on your website, that's not good. Okay, you could be bigger. You could be higher than 1%. And the other thing, and I'll give away a secret here too. One of my ways to tell ROI or return on investment on some of this stuff, because a lot of it's like this too, is to look at your bank balance. Right? I mean, are you making more money than you did before you did this stuff? Right? That's one of the best ways to tell, because in some ways this stuff really, really is difficult to measure and to quantify very specifically with numbers. But one number should be sort of rising steadily, and that's your bank account balance. So that's what I got. All right, so let's unless you got something else, you want to move on to the next question?
Now, I've got some more thoughts, but they'll come up in later segments because
Okay, right.
this question, there are similar themes and answers to this ROI question throughout the internet. So.
Definitely. I agree with you 100%. Okay, so the last question on this topic of websites is common website mistakes. So I'll let you go first on this one. What are some of the things, because you look, the cool thing about having your perspective is not just your expertise, but you get to look at a lot of different websites and evaluate them. And you get to see what works and what doesn't too for your clients. You get real world feedback from more than just one website like I do. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see when people on people's websites?
I'm going to give you two, and they might be the two most significant. Not that there aren't other important ones. Number one is being cheap.
Okay.
Okay. Not that expensive always equates to higher quality, but it's just amazing how many attorneys have their buddy do the website as a favor, or really price shop like crazy and go with the low priced person. When you go suit shopping, maybe you look for a good deal, but you never say I'm looking for the cheapest suit.
Right.
Okay. Not that when you go website shopping, you're looking for a cheap looking website, but typically if you pay for a cheap website, that's what you're going to get. And that leads to you saying, and I quote, I think my website's good enough.
Right.
Well, I sure hope that your clients don't think your legal services are just good enough, because if I'm facing jail time, or potentially losing my kids to my spouse during a divorce, I'm not interested in someone who's just good enough. Right. So spend money on your website like you're looking to get something that represents you the way you want to be represented. Don't be cheap. Number two, hire a marketing company. And I emphasize the word marketing. There are web programmers, there are graphic designers, and those people are good at designing and programming, but they're not marketing people.
Right.
Hire a marketing company that has web designers and programmers. But a marketing company is going to actually be able to partner with you strategically and help you think about what makes a good website. And then that marketing company is going to work with their web designers and programmers to create that product. When you work with a web designer or programmer directly who really isn't a marketing person, they're just thinking in terms of programming and designing. Right. They're not thinking strategically about marketing. And then you're just, throwing darts against the wall, hoping that this cool looking graphic means your website's better. And, so don't be cheap and hire a marketing company, not necessarily just a web designer.
Right. Okay. I agree with those both. I have a couple of things that I added too. I guess what I'll say, that, when it comes to that kind of advice, spending money and things like that, I have a little bit of an alternative direction that I will send people sometimes. I think that your advice is 100% accurate. And I think if you want to get if you want to make the biggest strides the fastest, I think that is the way to do it. If in your brain, though, you were just on an extremely tight budget, what I would suggest is this is what I tell people. Go and find a WordPress theme. They have free themes everywhere that sort of will give you the look that you want. Now, the problem is, like you just said, it may just be pretty and it may not be effective, right? That's the chance that you're going to take by not hiring someone with marketing expertise to sort of help you through the process. But with some of those designs, the elements will be sort of built in if you go to the right places. But then the next step that you want to do is you want to get someone to help you move the things around, and you don't want to try to do any of it on your own, is what I always tell people. Don't spend 30 hours trying to learn by yourself how to move a box 2 inches to the right when you can pay somebody to do it in 3 minutes, literally. So if cost is a huge option, you can get a professional look. It may not be what you're doing this way, is you're really leaving out the marketing element of it, which is a big problem. But I think if you're going to just start bare bones, like very, very, very limited budget, at least have a website that looks good and is clean and fast. And and then maybe have somebody come in and consult with you on it, and maybe help give you ideas about how to fix it. For example, like I don't know. I don't even know if you offer this service, but sort of like a website overview. Like if somebody hires you, I'm sure you go in and look at their stuff and sort of give them ideas and things like that. But all that aside, what you definitely don't want, I don't think at least, is to hire like Lexus to come build you some thing that is like totally cheap looking, and it's got like scales of justice everywhere, and like I don't know. I mean, if everybody's doing it, then it's not going to work for you. It's sort of my common theme especially from a design standpoint. Okay, but I digress. My common website mistakes, I say, are too much stuff, particularly on the homepage. There's like 100 different buttons to push, 100 different practice areas that everybody's showing, and it prevents you from telling people specifically what you do. The second thing is no call to action, right? No big phone number, or no way to easily have someone take the next step if they want. And then this sort of goes with number one, but there's no immediate idea what service is provided or where the value is from people. So those are kind of the things I said, and I'm sure you want to give a little bit back to me on my WordPress thoughts. So go for it.
I have an not opposing, but I'm going to slightly disagree with your initial thought about getting a theme.
Okay.
And here's why. No matter what, you're going to spend at least a few hours. You're going to spend at least a few hours picking out the theme, figuring out how to plug in the content. Oh, by the way, writing the content, that's a time sucker right there. Here's my thought. Look, and as you guys listen to me, you'll kind of learn. I'm a straight, I'm a no bullshit kind of guy. I don't know if we're allowed to curse on your show, Chris, but
why not?
Feel free to leave that out. But
right.
I mean, at the end of the day, look, you're a solo lawyer or a solo business owner. That means you have some sort of entrepreneurial bone in you. Don't waste 2 hours of your time learning how to use a WordPress theme. Spend those 2 hours being an entrepreneur. Pick up the phone, call 10 people, ask what you can take off their plate, and I bet you in those 2 hours, you'll generate enough money to cover the cost of a professional doing your website and have some left over to do whatever else you want to grow your firm. I just really believe that if you're running your business the way you should be running it and spending your time in the places that are most profitable, you don't want to waste even 2 or 3 hours of your own time learning how to get this thing up, especially at the start of your business when cash flow is critical. Do what you need to create the cash flow ASAP. And you know what? If you need not having a website is the thing that lights a fire under your butt to create some quick capital, that's fine, whatever it takes. But I really believe in that little bit of butt kicking that says, what can I do right now to create $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 of cash for my business? I'm kind of taking a side note to do kind of like a business lesson.
Right.
Because honestly, if you learn how to do that now at the beginning of your firm, and I'm assuming that if you're thinking about getting your own WordPress theme, doing it yourself, you're at the beginning of your law firm. If you're not, then you need to talk to like a law firm coach. I know a few. But otherwise, I mean, learn that lesson right from the beginning. How can you quickly create $5,000 in cash flow when you have a cash crunch? Learn that lesson at the beginning. That's going to benefit you way down the road. So it's not necessarily that what I'm saying is right and what you're saying was wrong. It's not that. It's just that I actually think that rather than spending those few hours there, learn how to make money with those few hours. And I think that that's kind of entrepreneur 101, so That's just kind of a personal approach.
No, I agree with you. And I think, I'll say this last thing and then we'll move on to the next topic. But I think sort of too, I can tell you what clouds my judgment sometimes is that, I have done a lot of studying and a lot of thinking and a lot of learning about this stuff. So for me, some of these elements and some of this work is already ingrained in me, so for me to take the tack that I just said, that makes sense for me, where
enjoy it.
And I do enjoy it. I love it. Of course I do. And I think you're right though that well, I guess what I'll say is I at the end of the day, what you were saying right there is it's this is where the return on the investment comes, right? You pay the money, a little bit of money up front to make sure it's done right. It's going to pay off in much bigger ways over the long haul, and that means getting someone with marketing experience and getting someone in there that knows what they're doing to set it up right and make sure that the message is right and that everything looks right and flows right.
You have the cash, no problem, but spend that time creating the cash.
Right. I agree. I think that was a great point. Okay. All right. So that's it for topic number 1.
Thanks for listening to the Art of Lawyering podcast. For more great action-packed advice and information, visit theartoflawyering.com.